Good evening and welcome to the Monday, April 25th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, the first item on the agenda tonight is the approval of tonight's agenda. Are there any changes or additions or subtractions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of last meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes from last time? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's move right along here. We have one public hearing tonight. It looks like it's for Climatech, location 6950 Washington Avenue South. It's a request for a site plan review on 6.98 acres. Will the proponent please step forward and like to speak to it? If you could state your name, please, and spell your name for the record.
Beverly Lexfold. It's spelled Beverly, Lexfold, which is Lex, V as in Victor, OLD as in dog. I'm the Director of Operations for Climatech. I've been with Climatech for approximately 2 years, and I'm here as a representative of Climatech. Al Preham, who is Climatech's CFO, and Scott Ringhand, who is Climatech's COO. They're out of business, out of state on business, so I'm here to represent. I'm going to defer the main portion of the questions to Peter Coyle, who is Climatech's attorney from Larkin and Hoffman. And we have Rob Binder from our civil site group, and he can answer any questions. If you have any questions about Climatech, I'll certainly be here to hopefully answer those for you. I'm going to defer to Peter now.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission and staff. My name is Peter Coyle with Larkin Hoffman. Pleased to be before you this evening to present to you the recasting of an existing business, an existing building within your city, based on a proposed purchase of that property by Climatech, as Beverly indicated in her opening comments. We've got really very brief comments for you this evening, but it starts with just a reminder of what the property looks like that we are talking about this evening, which is what you would expect for an older industrial property, vintage of the 1950s or whenever this property was in fact first constructed. You'll note the relative scarcity of landscape materials. You'll note the complete scarcity of what you and I might call modern drainage facilities, the usual site amenities that you might see in a more contemporary building structure such as this, and particularly given the standards of your city. So that's what we're about addressing this evening. But the really important news for the city that this application represents is a decision by the ownership of Climatech to relocate its business to your city from Hopkins. It's a byproduct of the light rail line project that is supposedly coming. But the decision has been made that this is the site that best suits the current and future growth ambitions of the company. And so they're very excited to be making this application to you this evening and to hopefully secure your recommendation of approval and that of the City Council at a future meeting date, so they can get about the business of remaking this a business as their long-term home. So the existing site as you see it is relatively straightforward. You might say plain because of its historical condition. And with that, to start with just this graphic very quickly because I think it just illustrates in terms of the site use the most important points for you. If you'll look in the upper left corner of the graphic, as I'm looking at it, you'll see that underlying areas of existing parking are being potentially foreclosed by proof of parking area, so future landscaping area. That'll be a net reduction in parking. In addition, you'll see in the middle of the parking field the introduction of defined parking areas, which will be accomplished not just by restriping, but also by the introduction of parking bump outs that will help channel traffic and control the edge of traffic into and out of the site. In the center of the building plan, you'll see a large gray area that encapsulates a new external storage facility that's being added that will contain the resin that's used as part of Climatech's extrusion business, and that structure will be fully screened as required by city standards. And next to it will be a new parking, a loading dock rather, that will be constructed. And then if you shift to the far right, lower right corner, you'll see two improvements. One will be the construction of a new visitor parking circular drive, which does not currently exist on the plan, if you'll recall. And you'll also see in the far lower right corner the introduction of a rain garden structure that doesn't currently exist. And all of these improvements are designed to add to the site what doesn't currently exist, which is stormwater detention facilities, or at least some element of stormwater capture facility. And that's pursuant to your code, which is what the site plan review process allows and frankly requires. Those are improvements that we're happy to make. The other improvement that's not reflected in the plan, but which perhaps is most important because it will be most visible to your residents, and that is the complete reskinning of the building to give it a contemporary look. To the layperson not familiar with the details of what's going to have gone forward, hopefully to their view it will look like a brand new building. Certainly the interior will be worked as is needed for the function of the operation. We're not going to go through the details of those tonight, and that obviously will be fleshed out in the building permit application that will be reviewed by your staff. The last sheet that I wanted to review briefly with you, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Commission, is the landscape plan. If you'll recall the earlier version, and if you're familiar with the site, you already know this from your own experience, it's relatively devoid of landscaping. This will be a very extensive landscaping plan as required by your code. On balance, the goal of the owners is to, which are the employees, by the way, the goal is to have this be not just a very functional 21st century corporate site, but also a very modern aesthetic, if you will, for both the well-being of the employees who work there, but also for the residents and the other businesses that live and work in the area and who transit this site. That's the essence of the proposal this evening. We certainly would love to have your support. As Beverly indicated, she's happy to respond to specific questions about the company if you wish her to do that. And otherwise, we also can respond to technical questions regarding the site and some of the other design improvements that have been made as you wish. But that's the extent of my comments for you this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. You can have a seat for now. Any initial questions or comments from the commissioners? All right. Is there a planner's report on this?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, as stated, the application before you this evening is a request for site plan approval. Mr. Coyle did a fabulous job of walking through what the specific changes are that are proposed. Primarily, it is parking reconfiguration, the addition of some dock doors, creating some primary entrance features, as well as adding and noting some proof of parking areas. The landscaping that is provided meets and exceeds the city code requirements, as do the exterior building materials. Mr. Coyle's comments did include the fact that there is an exterior silo that is necessary for Climatech's business. As you can see in the elevations that are provided with the application, the silo will be screened as is required by code, and the materials do still meet the exterior material requirements required by code. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Great. Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
I have one, and it's only because I'm unfamiliar with the design, some aspect of the design here. Over the windows, you have a metal type of extension to keep, I assume, the sun from hitting the outside there where employees may be seated inside, or for some other purpose, perhaps. So I was just interested in that particular part of the design.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Higgins, my very long-time good friend, Commissioner Higgins, would have to ask the one question that none of us in the room are capable of answering.
Ed,
we had thought we would be joined this evening by the project architect, but apparently we are not.
Well, we have one on the commission.
Well, there we go. So maybe somebody else can answer the question.
Of course, I dare not answer for the applicant, something that I know little about, but I can, as an architect, tell you there are probably sun screens, sunshades of some sort. They're probably louverized as opposed to a solid roof.
Okay.
And they would do that for shading, of course, for the interiors, and some dramatic shadow effect on the outside.
Right.
But, again, I don't want to answer for them, but that's probably what they are.
It's a fair assumption.
Thank you.
Any other questions I can't answer?
No,
think
I
that's
did
it.
not plan that.
All right, this is a public hearing. So if anyone would like to speak out in favor or against this project, please step forward. I don't see anyone, so any other final comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I just have a quick question of staff. This is only a site plan review, but I did notice on the survey that the property lines extend on the east out to the center line of Washington Avenue. Is there any compelling reason for, or what is the trigger for a replat if you wish to take over the full right-of-way?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the property is a legal lot of record, and therefore, since the applicant is not proposing a replat, rather the improvements trigger a site plan review process, there's no immediate need to replat the property at this time.
Thank you. I would just go on to say that I thought this application was an outstanding example of an extraordinary of extending the life expectancy of aged building stock in the Golden Triangle area. A lot of buildings in this area have been upgraded, but I think this is a stellar example. I think your design team's doing an outstanding job.
Thank you.
All right, nothing, if no other business, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, move to recommend approval of the site plan review on 6.98 acres based on plans stamped dated April 13th, 2016, and the information included in the staff report dated April 19th, 2016.
Second.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll have to abstain.
Commissioner Wookie abstains. All right, it's all said. Good luck on this project. Welcome to Union Prairie. Looks like a great project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving along on the agenda, do we have any planners report this evening?
Not this evening.
Members report? Continuing business. New business. Crickets. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.